Will get in there.
Yeah.
Good.
And we're gonna Father Jack. What does a priest do throughout the day that's different from an average adult?
Well, it depends what the priest does. You know, a priest is always, all priests are supposed to say Mass every day, so some priests say it publicly in the parish. Sometimes, like the Oblate priests who live together, we have Mass together next door. Sometimes I have Mass here at the school. So that's like, you know, you're not your average adult. Many adult Catholics do go to Mass every day. We also pray. We pray what we call the Liturgy of the Hours. I have my book right there, which is like all the Psalms and prayers of the Church that you pray a couple times a day. So I do that, like I was doing it in your Spanish class today, and I fell asleep because you're supposed to pray certain times throughout the day. So those are some things that priests would do that the normal person wouldn't do. Regular people can do that, and there are some lay people who do those things, but the average lay Catholic does not go to do Mass every day or pray the office book every day, Liturgy of the Hours. So there's some things we do differently. Okay.
Question number 2.
Did you always believe in God?
I always believed in God, but I was just telling someone recently when I was in high school and we're Catholic, in a junior year I had a real, what I call crisis of faith, where I did not believe in God for a while. I remember studying, and there was an Oblate priest who taught me, and I used to think, how does he know all this? You know, how can he be so confident? But my family, you wouldn't even think of not going to church. You got up every Sunday and went to church. So I would go to church, even by myself sometimes, and at the creed, where we talk about, I believe in God, I believe in this, I believe in that, I would sit there and I wouldn't say it, and I'd say, how do we know that? How do we believe that? How can they prove that? And I would say that in my heart, in my mind, and I would just go through the motions. But I really struggled with faith in high school. But I'd say by the time, around this time, by graduation time, I don't know what happened. I remember this was before the internet. I used to go to the library. I used to read all about atheism. There's a magazine called Atheist Today. I mean, today you would like look it up online, but I used to like read because I wanted to believe in God, but I really struggled with it. So I took it seriously, is what I'm saying. I just didn't say, oh, I don't believe in God. Faith was so important to my family and to me. I thought, well, let me do some research on this God question. And eventually, after maybe a year or so of thinking that way, I came to the conclusion there is a God. You can't really prove it, but there are too many coincidences and things in this world that tell me God really exists. That's a long answer, I'm sorry.
As a kid, did you always think of becoming a priest?
Not always, but I remember my great uncle was a priest, my great aunt was a nun. We had a lot of that stuff in our family. I had a great sense of the church and faith and religion, as I said. So it wasn't like I always wanted to be a priest, but it was on the table. Like, you know, like some people who grow up with police officers in their family might say, hey, maybe I'll be a police officer. So it was something I thought about throughout my childhood and as a young adult. But there were other times when I wanted to be a writer, I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to do other things too. So it kind of went back and forth in my life.
What does it take to become a priest?
Well, belief in God, okay, and but that, you might be in the seminary and also go through a crisis of faith, don't get me wrong, but you have to believe in God and His church, and have to study hard. So for oblates, it takes usually about 8 years to become a priest. Some priests it takes a little bit shorter, maybe some a little bit longer, but for us it takes about 8 years of study and of work. For example, Mr. Zumbrum's a seminarian. He's doing like an internship. I had to do one. You know, you have to spend some time seeing if you like the priestly life. So it takes about 8 years.
You're not actually a priest yet.
You're not actually a priest yet, okay? But you do a lot of priestly stuff in those 8 years, okay?
When and why were you called to service?
I think the when was like, you know, kind of in high school I really began to think more strongly about it. You know, we have career days and stuff. But I went to college first, and I'd say by college I began to think more seriously about becoming a priest. I've always felt the need to serve. You know, when I was in high school, I was in CSC. In college, I was involved in like social outreach. I used to help out at St. Francis Inn down in Kensington. I mean, I always tried to help, but priesthood kind of solidified when I was in college. Okay.
What would you say to someone who's looking into becoming a priest?
I would say don't get discouraged with everything going on in the church, and don't give up. Always know that if God calls you, He will bring you through whatever struggles you have. Okay? So don't give up. Keep questioning. Keep looking into it.
What kind of sacrifices are there to be made, if any?
Well, for us as religious priests, sacrifice, we take the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, which I'm sure you've heard about. Poverty, you don't really own things. For example, my car is not my own car, it's the oblate car. Chastity, obviously, you don't have a relationship or a sexual relationship or a marriage, you give up a family. And obedience, you're under authority. You just can't say, hey, I'm going away to Vegas for the weekend. You have to get permissions and things from your superiors. So there's some sacrifices right now in the church with all the scandals of people looking at you like you're a freak sometimes. That's a sacrifice. But it's all worth it for Jesus.
And like, if you guys were to like go away on vacation or anything, do you guys get money for that?
Yeah, we get what we call an allotment every month, which is like an allowance. It's about for us, it's about $250 a month, but we're taking care of food and shelter and a car. So really, that $250 is used for like to buy my aunt an Easter plant, or to give my nephew a First Communion gift, or to go out to dinner with some friends, so that money is more for me to use as like, recreation, but we get money for vacation too, a little bit extra, so we can, go to the shore and do that kind of stuff. Okay? Anything else?